Blue Lock went wild this week, as in this chapter, we see Blue Lock going on the counterattack, and Isagi faces off against none other than Hugo, but I genuinely can't say anything else other than that this chapter is crazy. Alright, starting off this chapter also called Logic, we get a small message from someone from the Blue Lock team, who apologizes and says that as the production of this week's chapter could not be completed in time, some of the images aren't the best pretty much, just wanted to include that, so that you guys are aware. Anyway, we get into the ball hitting the back of the net from Charles' shot, and the crowd goes absolutely wild as they see it. The commentator says that it's a declaration of war, a rapid-fire attack, and a one-shot kill. We also get a small cameo from Ego, who is sitting on the bench looking half dead. The commentators continues as they say that this is a magnificent showing from France with their very first attack, and that Charles Chevalier has seized the initiative. After that, we see Loki kind of trying to aura farm a bit as he simply gives a thumb up to the crowd. Meanwhile, Charles right away runs to Hugo and jumps right onto his back. We then switch sides and go to the better side, which of course is Blue Lock, and Ryu just says, "Damn," which is kind of a vibe. After that, we see Aiku, who's dragging his hand through his hair and says that France is insane and that they totally fell for their ploy. Nico says that their pattern just now wasn't in the data that they had gathered, and Karasu says that the speed, the cross run, and the shot quality, saying that you can explain it logically, but that goal wouldn't have been possible without incredible skill and talent. Explains that this is the absurd might of their generation's top team, and also Loki's French team, which is, as we already know, the favorite to win. However, after that, someone comes by and claps his hands. We see that it's the chameleon Reo, who tells them all to chill, tells them that France made an experimental surprise attack, and that there were aspects that they couldn't respond to, saying that what France really wants is to rattle them, and in turn, make them throw themselves off their game. Reo looks serious, even though you might not believe it with his panel, but he tells them to cool down their brains and not lose their heads. Aiku goes, fist bumps him, and says that he's right, and calls it nice mental management, calling Reo brain boss. Reo just says that he's got it, and Bachira then bows his head as he thanks Reo for the mental medicine, and Gagamaru also bows his head and agrees with Bachira. After that, we see someone coming by and saying that Rio's right, and that they have just started. It's the GOAT, Isagi, who says that they have planned for when they are a point behind and to just focus on playing their way of soccer. Hiyori looks at him with a smirk and tells him, "Alright," and calls him an egotist. And Chigiri says that he is right, and also says that they have Isagi, which is kind of cool. Bachira then looks fired up as he thinks that things are just getting started. Isagi tells them that this is good, and after that, he takes a deep breath and tells Blue Lock not to panic. And he also tells himself not to panic, and for both of them to keep on giving their best to secure victory. With that, we see them starting the game back on with Isagi passing to Rin. The commentators ask whether Japan will make a counterattack and say that Isagi and Rin are passing back and forth and charging up the middle, which they sure did, as they even got behind Loki. But just as they were destroying the France team, Charles comes by and tells Rin that he saw that in their first game against Nigeria, he bumped into Rin and tells him that he and Isagi will make their way up and then make it so either of them could be the finisher. Asking if he isn't right, Rin is just a bit shocked to see Charles here, but he doesn't say anything and is just silent. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? But just then, someone from the France teams who's called Bats comes by, and he looks super cool, and Charles tells him to box Rin in, and he has a huge smirk as he says that. However, Rin is just calm and collected as he looks to the side and tells Charles that they have already worked around this, and he passes the ball. Charles looks super surprised and shocked as he can't believe it, before saying that Rin passed to the right side, and he then tells the France team to watch out for the speedster. But come on, this is Chigiri we are talking about, so there's no way that anyone could take this goat down, and he gets to the ball first and says that they can go fast too, and after that, he looks like he means business as he passes a direct cross into the box, or at least close by it. We then see Reo, who calls it a good tempo and calls Chigiri princess, and with that, he jumps high up into the air and says, "Nice groove." After that, we see someone who I'm pretty sure is called Gabin, but he screams to someone else called Hermes, not let him shoot. We then see the center back from France, who is called Hermes, and he says that this is as expected, but after that we get back to Reo, who tells Hermes that he has got him as he's starting to go into his copy mode, and this time, he decides to go for Kunigami, which is sick since I'm pretty sure that this is the first time that he has ever copied. Kunigami, Gabin, looks super shocked as he asks about what's going on, and says that he's setting up a shot instead of shooting, and after that we see that the ball went to Isagi. And also, while on this topic, this copy from Reo is the same head pass that Kunigami did in the PXG game, I'm pretty sure anyway. Isagi then gets a light smirk, as firstly his meta vision eyes come out, and also his pieces start to get active. After that, he tells Reo that he has a nice groove, but just when everything seemed to go so smoothly, it just had to go downhill, as we see Hugo, who comes right by Isagi and puts his entire arm out right in front of him, and admits that Blue Lock actually has a good team. After that, we see Isagi, who doesn't seem like he can understand what is going on as he looks shocked, but Hugo tries to drag him closer and away from the ball, while telling Isagi that his two-gun volley only works when he's squaring off with an opponent and can feint in either direction, making his shot unpredictable. But if one were to charge him and close that gap, then his movements could be totally nullified. Isagi looks extremely annoyed, but we then see Hugo's dead eyes as they are completely blank, and he tells Isagi that his weapon can be crushed by logic. Isagi looks back in awe and says that Hugo ran a simulation using his movements as data. After that, the ball finally gets over to Isagi, and Isagi tries to do his best to keep it by him. After that, Hugo tells him that the backwards volley that he did during the Nigeria match can also be nullified through contact. But just when Hugo thinks that he's got Isagi where he wants him to, Rin comes by and screams Isagi's name. We also have Karasu by the side, who tells Isagi to pass and that he's free. Isagi then looks super happy as he thanks them, but suddenly, we can see that Karasu and Rin both get blocked by other players, and Hugo then continues his little rant, as he says that if they block his helpers, then he has nowhere to pass to. He continues and says that if they manage to crush Isagi, then Blue Lock is dead in the water. However, hearing Hugo talk that much nonsense and shit about Blue Lock understandably makes Isagi a bit mad, as he turns around and tells Hugo to be silent and calls him a logical asshole, telling him that he has made it this far by devouring arrogant creeps like him. Isagi is trying to hold Hugo off, as his eyes then starts to burn with aura, and he tells Hugo that he's going to risk it all to be number one. But before Isagi is even able to finish that sentence, Hugo cuts him off, and with a creepy and dark tone, he tells Isagi that he's more suitable to be number two, which is honestly so insanely wild, but also coldly to say. Anyway, Isagi is completely shocked by that, but just then, Hugo goes and just casually steals away the ball from Isagi, and he also asks Isagi if he believes in destiny, and with that, he starts to run away super coldly with the ball. Meanwhile, Isagi looks back towards him, and he looks super pissed off. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this chapter. Some news for you is that the next chapter will be called The Theory of Suitable Destiny, which honestly sounds a bit too complicated for me to speculate about. However, it does sound super cool, as most things which takes the topic of destiny is always super cool, and I can't wait to learn how they will adapt it into Blue Lock. But anyway, we also learned that there will be no break next week, which is just another super fantastic news. This chapter, however, was really sick, as well as I just in general really liked Hugo's and Isagi's little talk that they had, and I thought that Hugo telling Isagi that he was way more cut out to be number two was super insane. However, I do really hope that our boy Isagi puts Hugo in his place this match, and shows him that he is going for the number one spot right after Chigiri. Anyway, with that out of the way, I won't speak too much about it since I'm a bit sick, but I would love to learn what you guys thought about the chapter, and what you guys would give it out of 10. Personally, I would give it a steady but pretty decent 6 out of 10, as there wasn't that much in it at the end of the day. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.